Okay, our next lecture is going to go into the chemistry of water. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about the molecule of water, H2O. We've talked about how molecules are held together with bonds and um, a little bit about the structure of the um, atoms that are held together in these molecules. Now we're going to start looking at some important molecules for life, starting with the water molecule, and then we'll go into biological molecules or bio molecules. In the chemistry of water, the first thing we can say is that water is polar. We mentioned polarity. Polarity is when a molecule has one end that has a slight positive charge and one end has a slight negative charge. And water is one of those molecules. And so that gives it some unique qualities. So water is a very important molecule. Basically, it covers anywhere estimates from 70 to 95% of the Earth's surface covers is covered by water, and all living organisms require water more than any other substance. Um, so it is a very important molecule. So the polarity, this shows the polarity of the molecules here. So where the hydrogen end of the water molecule is going to have a slight positive charge, whereas the oxygen has a slight negative charge. And so this positive and negative charge attracts each other and forms a weak bond between the two. And so this weak bond holds these molecules together. Now, when they're held together, we can say when water attracts other water molecules, then we can say that that is cohesive. So that is a nature of the water molecule, is that it is very cohesive. Um, it is also very adhesive, meaning that other molecules um, attract to it as well. Other polar molecules will attract to the water molecule. So water is very cohesive and adhesive. This is important for a number of reasons. We'll mention one here. One reason is in plants. The cohesive and adhesive nature is seen in the ability that plants have to move water molecules up. So water has to get down from the roots up to the top of the tree. All those tissues need water and the nutrients in the water as well. And the way it accomplishes getting this water up to the top, they don't have a pump or anything to do that. Like respiring organisms do, but they move this water in a process called tension cohesion. And that is when water is lost through evaporation in the leaves, it creates a suction or a pull in a chain of molecules in the vascular tissue of these plants. So here we see some water molecules in a vascular cell here, and the dotted lines representing the weak hydrogen bond that's attaching these molecules together. And so that is showing cohesion when the water molecules stick to each other. It also sticks to the wall of the cell because it has to be going up against gravity, up the plant tissue, up the plant from lower to higher. And so it sticks to the wall through adhesion. And so we can see that nature of cohesion and adhesion in the water molecule in plants. Water molecules also create a surface tension in liquid water. That surface tension gives it kind of a hard harder surface than we would see in other liquids. And we can see that here in this insect, water strider here, sometimes called a Jesus bug. But the water strider can actually scurry and go across the surface of the water because of this surface tension. And so that's related to the water's cohesive nature. Okay, the next thing we can say is that other molecules can either be hydrophilic or hydrophobic if they are attracted to or if they repel water molecules. Of course, hydrophobic would be those that are water fearing or they repel water. Hydrophilic, water loving, they attract water. And so this is an important quality. Oil molecules are hydrophobic because they have relatively nonpolar bonds, and so they do not adhere to water molecules readily. Another thing we mentioned about water is when substances are dissolved in water, they can disassociate. Oh, sorry about that. They can disassociate and they can come apart. And when they do, they can break the bonds of the water molecules up. And when they break them up, they will release either hydrogen from the hydrogen molecules, or they will release the hydroxide ions, OH, from the water molecules. And so if they release more of one than the other, then that substance is considered to be either acidic or basic, and this is referred to as the pH scale. So an acid is any substance, let's see, an acid is any substance that increases the hydrogen concentration in a solution, and a base is any substance that reduces this hydrogen concentration in a solution. And so if it reduces it, it's going to increase the hydroxide ions. So we can see this in the pH scale right here. All right, so here we have the pH scale. Chemists have set this up. It runs from 0 to 14, whereas right in the middle is pure water. And that is when, if you dissolve pure water in pure water, you have an equal amount of hydrogen ions and hydroxide ions, so it's neutral. And then we can increase acidity. When we do that, these substances are going to increase the hydrogen ions in the solution, and these substances will increase the hydroxide ions or decrease the hydrogen ions. And so this is the pH scale. These from 0 to 7 would be acidic, and then from 7 to 14 would be basic. Now this can occur sometimes if we get some of toxic substances into the atmosphere and they get into the water cycle. We can have acid, we can have the moisture in the air mass can become acidic, and so when it rains we have acid rain, and that falls here in a more acidic level on the pH right there. And then this can cause a lot of damage to forested areas. Here we see an image of a forest where it has damage from acid rain. All right. Okay, and really that's where we end for our kind of introduction to the water molecule. Our next lectures are going to go into large macromolecules, primarily those that have carbon in them. And so we'll be looking at those in the next lecture.